This is Biernacki, and today I'm talking about the 9 fish you need to avoid and the 3 best fish everybody should try eating. Fish can be amazing. I knew someone who's a bodybuilder. They got onto eating a lot of the fish and they had to be admitted to the hospital. I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna talk about all the myths, all the dangers, all the benefits, but you have to be eating and preparing your fish correctly, and you have to be avoiding these absolute worst fish. And we're starting now. We're going to review the oils, how to best prep your fish so that it's healthy. You don't want to cook it in unhealthy oils. It ruins the benefits. And watch out for heavy metal toxicities. Where are they high? Which fish are the worst? Is it farmed fish? What are the risks of actually taking this? Now, what about all these fish farms? More and more fish every day are getting created at fish farms. Is this a risk to your health? Is this something you have to be paying attention to? And fish can be over 100 years old. We're going to go over a 150-year-old fish in this video. So who is this guy talking about fish? Well, I'm a foot and ankle surgeon, and unfortunately I've had to amputate a lot of toes and feet because people have diabetes, arterial disease, a lot of health issues. So I deal with this stuff real time. And just in case, my wife is a registered dietitian. She double checks all these studies and things that I review. And at the same time, I'm the medical director of a few different medical clinics. And our goal here is to get people as healthy as possible. So if we're doing a good job, give us a thumbs up and a like. If we're not doing something correctly, let us know in the comments. This makes a big difference for us to make better videos for you. Here is the real trick. The world is getting, unfortunately, more polluted in certain areas, and fish can live a long time. There are some fish that we're going to talk about that can live 150 plus years. In fact, here in Michigan, in the Detroit River, they recently caught a huge fish that was over 100 years old. That's crazy. That's a lot of times for it to eat other fish that built up toxins, and that's a lot of time for it to eat garbage at the bottom of the lake, at the bottom of rivers, at the bottom of these farms, and all of it gets concentrated into you. Pollution can cause nerve problems, chronic pain, peripheral neuropathy. Heavy metals can cause kidney disease, lung problems, heart problems, reproductive system problems. I've seen a study that says heavy metal pollution can cause 100 times the immune response and damage to our body than can a virus. So cadmium, mercury, aluminum, PCBs, they're cancer causing and they're only growing in our population. I knew someone personally who was a bodybuilder. They're in phenomenal shape. They're eating cans of fish, but they developed a health issue that put them into the hospital. They started having mental problems, memory issues. They were agitated. They really needed some serious medical help. And I'll tell you exactly what that is and how we can avoid it. But starting with the list, number 9, catfish. So catfish, this brings up the question of farmed fish versus freshwater fish. There are concerns associated with farmed fish, particularly other parts of the world. So a lot of our fish are imported from other countries, and this can be loose laws on antibiotics, contamination. So a lot of fish jammed into the bottom of a lot of farms. There's a lot of environmental impact. A lot of toxins can build up here. And the nutrition. So these fish have a much lower omega-3 profile than wild-caught fish. This is proven in studies. So a problem in society we have is high omega-6 fatty acids and low omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are associated with low inflammation, and unfortunately, the more our food is processed, the less nutrients we get. The more it's farmed, the less nutrients. I did a video on magnesium where like 80 to 90% of the magnesium's gone out of some foods, and same thing with fish. Seed oils are very controversial now, and what happens is oxidation affects polyunsaturated oils more due to their chemical structure. This leads to increased inflammation. Specifically, these are soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, grapeseed oil. Seed oils are tricky and controversial. I defer to Dr. Kate Shanahan. I really loved her chart and she summarizes it well here. There's bad fats and oils that you probably should not eat. Generally, if you focus to what's on the good fat and good list here, these tend to work out much better for you. This is a great list that I tend to follow. I'm not going to deep dive into each one. These are much more nutritionally devoid. It's not guaranteed, because some can do a great job. But overall, antibiotics, less nutrition, more contamination than a wild-caught fish. So catfish are generally considered bottom dwellers and they're farmed. So something to consider. And that's not even getting into the environmental aspect, all the different toxins that are built up in there and contaminations, PCBs, mercury, lots of different things. Number 8, tilapia. Tilapia on the surface has a great health profile, but they don't have a great omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, and it's because tilapia are farmed. The FDA flagged tilapia with lots of toxins. There's frequently health notices. These fish farms overseas use high levels of antibiotics, so tilapia overall could be a very healthy fish, but generally farmed. Number 7, king mackerel. So king mackerel, regular mackerel can be pretty good, but king mackerel, it's a predatory fish. That means it attacks other fish, it attacks other bottom-dwelling creatures, and those creatures on the bottom, they can basically eat up these different toxins. Somebody actually brought up to me, and I know this really irritates people on YouTube, but even in the Bible, bottom-dwelling creatures, realistically, as stuff drops to the bottom, they eat it up. They eat up these toxins, especially in heavy industrial areas, and then the bigger fish eat those, and then the toxins come into you. Mercury. This is what happened to that bodybuilder patient that we knew. Mercury toxicity is what built up. These are predatory fish which build up PCBs, mercury, other toxins. So Atlantic and Attica mackerel can be very healthy, but king mackerel, predatory fish, lives a long time, eats a lot of toxic bottom dwellers. And getting to 7, 6, 5, 4, these are marlin, swordfish, sharks, tilefish. Essentially, these are all fish that have a long lifespan and are predators. That's mercury buildup and toxic buildup. I'm going to go over heavy metal toxicity, specifically the Mediterranean regions, areas with higher populations and industries. There's a lot more mercury. In the ocean, like Pacific or Atlantic, there's much lower mercury levels, but in more dense areas, there's higher levels of mercury. The Mediterranean contains 50% of the world's mercury resources, and even birds in that area, their eggs have been tested and they have 4 times higher mercury levels in a study, and this can lead to mercury toxicity. This can lead to various health defects, so specifically that bodybuilder had neurological effect. Tired, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, irritability, mood changes, you're feeling weak. And what happens is most people don't reach like a toxicity, but they have low-lying levels where they're just disturbed. It can lead to heart issues, specifically cardiovascular issues, heart attacks. It could lead to kidney issues, decreased kidney functions. It could lead to stomach issues. These toxicities are real, and they're unfortunately hard to quantify in society. Where we do see them is kids, because kids can't take a lot of mercury, but kids specifically have pregnancy and developmental delays. You have to be careful with young kids and while you're pregnant, because that's where it really concentrates. Us as doctors in the ER, if people really build up a lot of these toxins, there's treatments. So these are heavy metal treatments for toxicity. This is something called chelation therapy, specific medications that bind to heavy metals and are then eliminated through the urine. But the reality is it's hard to quantify these things. So even though there's some good medications to perform chelation therapy, it's hard to say how much is left because some can go into your bones, some can be intracellular. It really depends on how much you've ingested throughout your life. It could shorten your lifespan, it could give you neurological issues. It's hard to say and nobody can really quantify it. But you need supportive care, so hydration, so you pee as much out, chelation therapy, and there are a lot of research studies. Generally with high levels of toxicity, these chelation therapies work really well. And I've had patients come in with chronic pain that are convinced that they had heavy metal toxicity. And a lot of the times, Who knows? Maybe they have. We don't really have a lot of great options to necessarily take care of this. There has to be specialists that do this. But the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine evaluated the effects of DMSA, which is a chelation therapy. And it is effective, especially in young kids and pregnant women, in reducing these levels, but it's not perfect. It makes things better, but it's not perfect. Now, as an example, back to the Mediterranean, there are what's called the blue zone. Blue zones are areas around the world like Japan, like Sardinia in Italy, where people live a very long time and have low stress lives. But basically, these cultures can eat a lot of fish, but they eat small, non-predatory fish. Sardines, anchovies, cod. They're not eating like shark. They're not eating swordfish, none of those types of things. Even though in Italy and Sardinia, they're eating a ton of fish, they eat those tiny, small, short-living, young fish that are not predators. And that's kind of really the trick. The blue zones are areas that have long life, like Japan, like Greece, like Italy, like Costa Rica, and like parts of California. These are areas that eat lots of small fish, not predatory fish. Number 2 in our countdown is orange roughy. These fish can live to be 150 years old. They're slimy and they can accumulate a lot of mercury and contaminants during their lifespan. Now, you're not eating 150-year-old fish, but generally these are old fish that have eaten a lot of other fish. Our bodies can't get rid of mercury and heavy metal toxins. Not only are you acquiring mercury in your body, but you're acquiring everything that that fish has ever accumulated throughout his life. So essentially, if you're 50 years old and you eat a 150-year-old fish, you've eaten 200 years worth of mercury. And now that fish ate other fish that also had mercury. So eventually that mercury starts to pile up. On average, orange roughy does not mature to be 30 years old. And what happens is, that's a lot of contaminants that you're eating. They did a study on orange roughy and they found that older ones were very high in mercury, arsenic, cadmium, and lead. A lot of heavy metal poisonings. And these attach to fats. They drive heart disease, inflammation, neurological disease, peripheral neuropathy potentially. And not just that, but orange roughy is being overfished. If it takes 150 years to go through its life and we're eating them like crazy, you're causing a lot of destruction. So this one's more of a subjective choice by me. Number 1, I would skip that one. So I moved it up higher than the list than it probably should be, but hey, it's my list. Tell me in the comments if you hate it. And number 1 for the most unhealthy fish, eel. And I'm influenced a little bit because of the Little Mermaid movies out. I have 3 little daughters. The henchmen, I believe, are eels. I don't know exactly what kind of fish they were. Full disclosure, I wasn't paying a lot of attention in the movie. But the eels are bottom dwellers and they help evil witches, from what I know. And they have a lot of toxin. The majority of eels are essentially farmed and they're bottom dwellers. And eels also are predators. Not only are they accumulating lots of toxins from other things, but they're bottom dwellers. Everything that kind of drops to the bottom. They have high levels of cadmium, heavy metal toxins. They're popular in sushi. Even though you're eating them in small amounts, they are endangered. They're not sustainable. And the artificial farming systems, again, they're in concentrated, dense areas where there's a lot of runoff, a lot of antibiotics, poor immune system. Eel is also known for very high fat content. They're not necessarily in good fat. They're high in saturated fat, not necessarily omega-3 fats like the other cold water fish. They're high in mercury levels, so we talked about that. And PCBs, so polychlorinated biphenyls and dioxins. These are all the bad stuff that people are consuming, and this is unfortunately difficult to quantify. I read a study on PCBs, and especially for men, it drops your testosterone. Animals, alligators, for example, that are exposed to PCBs have smaller testicle size, inability to reproduce, lower testosterone levels. Nobody wants that. Let's get to the good part, the best fish. So the best fish, there's a lot of good ones. There's anchovies, there are cods, herring, Arctic char. They did not make the list. But here's the countdown of the 3 best fish. Number 3, rainbow trout. Trout in general, but rainbow trout's pretty good. This is a freshwater fish. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids. rich in high quality protein, rich in vitamin D, rich in selenium, especially in the wintertime. We are all in Canada and Northern America deficient in vitamin D. It's like 70+%. It's crazy, but they say that the Inuit populations in Northern Canada, by eating a lot of cold water fish, they actually get their vitamin D levels, and that's what helps them survive and stay healthy. But omega-3 as well, great for a million things: low inflammation, weight loss, stress levels, everything. This is great components. They're delicious. People like them. Obviously, opt for the wild caught if possible, but I know that's expensive, but that's a great option. Number 2, I'm influenced by the Ninja Turtles sardines. So they always got sardines on their pizza. I love sardines. You can eat them out of a can. They are small, oily fish packed with omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, calcium. They are packed with B12. So B12 is a huge nutritional deficiency in a lot of peripheral neuropathy patients I see. Eating sardines can be very effective. Although I think the Ninja Turtles were potentially anchovies as well. But nonetheless, I consider them similar, small little fish. And number 1, most healthy, salmon. Was there any doubt? Absolutely. Salmon is known for its omega-3 fatty acid content. I read a paper once on the Inuit population. They eat salmon, they get their vitamin Ds, their immune system's strong, all the health benefits of vitamin D, omega-3, excellent protein, everything in it's healthy. This is a superfood, salmon. So I have another video about eggs, but salmon and eggs, they're like at the top of the best superfoods. They are so good for you. Share this with your family members because you got to avoid that heavy metal toxicity. You want to eat the healthy open water fish. You want to get your omega-3 fatty acids. You want less pesticides, less antibiotics, fewer contaminants. You want salmon that have that red, beefy color because they're wild caught. You want younger, non-predatory fish like anchovies, sardines, and you want salmon that's younger and healthier and free to swim in the ocean. I think tuna too. I left tuna out. They didn't make the top 3, but they should have been in that really healthy group. And another big secret is make sure you're using the proper healthy oils. So especially at high heat, you don't want to burn the oils. They're bad for your health. At lower heat, I like to use a temperature checking device. Make sure that fish is cooked, but don't overcook it in oils. Did I mess up at anything on this list? Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, and comment and tell us what worked or what didn't work. Tell us if I'm missing anything or messing anything up. But that's really the trick. All right, tell me if I got anything wrong and if that helped. Thank you.